Thank you, E27 team, for giving me the opportunity to speak amongst such incredible, accomplished speakers. I came to Echelon for the first time in June 2010, and it's amazing to see the progress that you've made over the years. This room is much more packed than it was back in 2010, so congrats on that. Yeah. RedMart is an online grocery store, a customer-centric one located here in Singapore. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Ecommerce Revolution. My co-founders and I have been on an intense, rewarding journey over the past 2 3/4 years in building RedMart. We've grown revenue 20 to 30% month over month. We've hired over 200 people, and we've raised over $12 million from very well-respected investors, such as co-founder of Skype, Toivo Enos, and co-founder of Facebook, Eduardo Saverin. Throughout this journey, we've learned a lot about retail and logistics from making a lot of mistakes. We've kind of gone through the startup school of the hard knocks and learned lessons the hard way, and we have a lot more to learn. But today I'd like to share with you some of my observations on the industry, and then comes the fun part. We're going to make some bold, wild, crazy predictions about the future of e-commerce. Predicting the future is risky business, but it's a whole lot of fun. So I'm going to do it anyway, and hopefully people will forget what I predicted in a few years anyway. So first, to focus our discussion, we're going to be talking about e-commerce for tangible products now, not for digital media and digital products. I'm going to talk about why and how I believe e-commerce is at a tipping point. I'm going to talk about the evolution of the industry, different business models that are emerging, and trends in the industry. And lastly, the fun part, we're going to talk about which of these business models will win, what is the future of e-commerce going to look like. Jeff Jordan from Andreessen Horowitz said, "We're in the midst of a profound structural shift from physical to digital retail." If you haven't read his article, I'd suggest you read it. I think this shift is just as profound as going from small specialized stores to big box retailers such as Walmart. The reason for this shift is because e-commerce has many advantages over brick and mortar retail. This is a chart from the US Census Bureau, so data from the US online penetration by product category. So you see the top line is media, sporting, and hobbies. Second line is electronics and accessories, and then you have clothing, fashion, and the bottom line is food and beverage. And the reason why I think that hasn't seen so much growth in penetration is because no one's done it well, and we're trying to change that at RedMart. So now I'm not going to talk about what are these advantages that e-commerce has over brick and mortar retail in terms of how do they benefit the end consumer. So consumers in retail care about price, product range or selection, or an experience or convenience. E-commerce has advantages in all three of these areas, and I'm going to explain why here. Let's start with price. E-commerce companies do not need to build, rent, stock, and staff multiple individual stores. Instead, they enjoy a lot of efficiencies and benefits from centralization. One warehouse with one set of staff and one set of inventory can service an entire market. And so there's lower fixed cost. Those savings go on to the end consumer in the end in the form of lower prices. In terms of product range, an e-commerce fulfillment center is much bigger than a store. It's not limited by the physical shelf space of the store, and therefore can hold many more products, a much larger product range. An experience, it's much more convenient, a better experience to shop from the comfort of your own home, not have to go to a crowded store, wait in line, and lug, in our case, heavy groceries back from the store. So these are the reasons why it benefits the consumer, but what is to the business model, what is the advantage? Like I said, these brick and mortar retail with their many individual stores have a huge fixed cost, right? And the staff for those stores. And so any dip in top-line revenue is hugely impactful to profitability. So as people move online, even that small dip really, really hurts them. And what happens is, as more people shop online, a vicious cycle ensues. Let's talk about that cycle. First, stores need a minimum footfall to, cover their fixed overhead and operate profitably. As traffic is diverted online, the stores become more expensive to operate. As they become more expensive to operate, their service and offering become weaker. And as their offering becomes weaker, more and more people go online. And this goes around and around. And this is exactly what happened to Borders. And it's what happened, when Amazon kind of took over online books. And then it's happening to Best Buy, which is an electronics brick and mortar retailer in the States. Also has e-commerce, but didn't quite get on board fast enough. So that's the US. But let's talk about Southeast Asia. It's a $330 billion market, but less than 1% online right now. It's higher in China and Japan, but we're talking about Southeast Asia. You have many different players that I've listed up here looking to capture that inevitable movement towards online. You also have a lot of VCs pumping money into e-commerce. This is a chart courtesy of Tech in Asia, an article that they wrote about different funding for various industries. The top 3 lines are e-commerce, and you can see that in aggregate, they're much more than the total of all the other industries combined. So they clearly see the trend and the opportunity. So just concluding the tipping point, very simple. More people shop online, less people shop in the stores. But now let's talk about the landscape and how it's evolving. I'm going to talk about the different business models and platforms, and there's a lot in e-commerce, so bear with me. And by the way, this is not a comprehensive list. I'm just going to go over the major trends and business models I'm seeing. So you have B2C. This is the traditional retail model where you buy stuff as a retailer from manufacturers, suppliers, you mark it up, you sell it for a gross margin, right? That's how you make money. Amazon, RedMart, JD from China, and Lazada have the B2C platform. Traditional marketplace, this is where it's an online mall. Retailers or sellers can go onto the platform, and in exchange for traffic and sales, they pay some percentage of their revenue as a fee. You have Tmall from Alibaba. Amazon also does this, and Rakuten, Q10 here in Singapore. Asset-light instant delivery marketplaces. This is a new interesting trend that's happening in the US. Companies like Instacart, Postmates, Google Shopping Express, eBay now are partnering with many brick and mortar retailers. They have personal shoppers either provided by themselves or crowdsourced. And these personal shoppers go to the physical brick and mortar retail store, buy the stuff, and get it to you instantly or within an hour or two. And they're betting on that total big selection and instant gratification can help them compete against big e-commerce companies. We'll talk more about that later. And Uber is another one. If they can transport people, they can transport products. Subscriptions. I'm going to also talk about the benefits and disadvantages of each of these platforms as I go. So just starting on the B2C, you have purchasing power, right? You're one entity that you can buy a lot. You have more control over the customer experience and supply chain. So you know in-stock rates, no out-of-stock availability. You can control that much better. Traditional marketplace, the advantage is you can increase your selection very quickly without taking inventory risk, much less capital intensive, but you don't control the customer experience as well. And that's the same type of with the asset-light instant delivery marketplace. Subscription, it's all about convenience, right? You have Blue Apron that's delivering meals, automatically to your house every week, going very well in the US. Amazon has a subscribe and save service where you can subscribe to products and save on them. Bella Box and Dollar Shave Club. Everyone knows what C2C, eBay, Taobao is. Private label, this is another big trend. If you can't beat them, develop your own products, right? And brand them and create your own, offering. So that's Warby Parker, Bonobos, Zalora is doing private label now. or value-added services, something beyond just buying the product and getting it to you. You know, Tate & Tonic is a local Singaporean company. They have a personal stylist. They curate your wardrobe for you, send you some stuff. You send back what you don't want. And Edit Suits is a new company that my friend co-founded. And a tailor comes to your house, makes made-to-measure clothes, reasonably priced, and you can order them online after that. So it's some type of value-added service on top of it. Daily deals, we all know what that is. Price comparison and social shopping. So this is a layer on top of different e-commerce companies. There's a new phenomenon that's going on where in the case of price comparison and My Supermarket and Vroom, 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 the customers can go to this price comparison site. They can fill up their cart with products from many different underlying e-commerce sites, choose the best cart, and check out from within that site without any collaboration of the underlying site, right? So they have their software actually check you out, and then it comes from that site, and that site doesn't know whether it's a personal shopper or their software doing it. Very interesting phenomenon. In the case of Pinterest, this is probably why Rakuten invested $100 million, and Moguji, it's a social shopping in China by the Alibaba founders. These layers on top of it are disrupting the traditional retailers, because now people are spending time shopping and communicating with their peers, and that advertising revenue is going to them rather than onto the underlying sites that they're servicing. Fulfillment, this is basically, either e-commerce companies or logistics companies who are partnering with e-commerce companies like Alibaba and Singpost and DHL and Takibin that are allowing brick and mortar companies or non-e-commerce companies to ride the e-commerce wave by providing fulfillment. And it's the same thing with e-commerce platforms. So you have Singpost and DHL providing not only the logistics and fulfillment, but also the last mile delivery and the e-commerce software that goes with that. NetSuite is doing that as well, and it integrates well within their ERP system. So those are the different platforms or business models I see in e-commerce. Let's talk a bit about what do they provide for the sellers on those platforms. So you have, in e-commerce from soup to nuts, you have a website and mobile front end for the customer, right? You have a back end. You have merchandising is deciding what you sell on your site. You have marketing, which is driving traffic to your site. Fulfillment, you're fulfilling the orders and getting them ready, and then delivering them to the customer, and payment is another one. So in the B2C model, you do all of this for the manufacturers on your site, right? That's what you get the margin for. In the traditional marketplace, some provide, just the website and front end. Others have a little bit of back end also there for the retailers on the site. They usually don't do merchandising, right? That's left to the retailers that are doing that are selling on the online mall. They do marketing for them, but they don't do fulfillment and delivery usually. But now Alibaba has actually partnered with that Singpost to do that, and they have Alipay, which is the payment gateway. So I won't go through all the others, but you can see what they do and what they don't do for the sellers on the platform. Let's talk about some trends. So pretty much in every market, there was an early e-commerce dominant player, right, that just had a huge head start on everyone else. And in the US and other, Europe, it's probably Amazon, and in China, Alibaba, Jingdao, and they are the everything stores, right? They have pretty much everything you need. And there's everyone else trying to compete against them, right? So first you have the huge brick and mortar retailers who can afford to try to take them on head on, right? Walmart, Tesco. Then you have what I just mentioned about all these, instant gratification delivery marketplaces that are teaming up with a bunch of brick and mortar retailers to provide that instant delivery and beat them that way. And then you have the people who just say, I'm not going to play that game. I'm going to make my own products and sell them on my own site so that I don't even have to compete with Amazon for commodity products, which is impossible because you can never have the purchasing power or the scale that they have. So you have Bonobos and Warby Parker making their own products, Blue Apron, like I mentioned before. So So another trend that's happening in the market that I see is retailers and manufacturers, the lines are blurring, right? A lot of retailers are making their own products. Like I mentioned, Bonobos, Warby Parker. Tesco has now 65% of its products are private label. That's interesting. 65%, it's the second largest retailer in the world. Zalora is doing it, Amazon's doing it. Those lines are blurring. The lines are blurring between e-commerce companies and logistics companies, right? Logistics companies and the e-commerce companies that provide logistics are realizing the site is the easy part, front-end sites and the software around it, that's the easy part. The hard part is the logistics and fulfilling those orders and getting them accurately delivered on time. That's the tough part. So you have people like DHL and Singpost saying, like, why are we doing this for other retailers? Let's just be a retailer. They're actually providing, they're actually going into retail, and you can see the partnership with Alibaba there. And companies like us, we provide our own fulfillment, Lazada, Flipkart in India. So now for the fun part. Let's make crazy predictions about what this all means and how it's going to shape up, right? So the first big idea I like to call the great e-commerce convergence, right? This is where business models, industries, companies, and services will converge into what I call a controlled ecosystem. And I'll explain more what I mean by that through the examples. So first, B2C and marketplace. I mentioned the advantages of B2C. You have purchasing power. It leads to lower prices. But marketplace, you can grow faster, less capital intensive, and get a much bigger range much more quickly. People who have both will win. Amazon did it. Lazada is doing it. I think other people will go down this trend. And then another layer of consolidation on top of that for product categories that need a different type of e-commerce experience, like fashion, where you need beautiful pictures of models. It's very different than groceries, where you want fresh food pictures and things like that. So what they're doing, Amazon is just buying these companies. Zappos in the US, diapers.com is baby stuff, but they're still enjoying that benefit of the purchasing power of a huge platform by acquiring them, and then they have Living Social, the social site. Those that control the supply chain and logistics will win. Like I said, the site is the easy part. This takes more money, more time. It's a huge pain in the ass. But when you get it right and you have that physical infrastructure in place, I think it will be unstoppable. And also, providing same-day delivery and things like that. Tech companies and e-commerce companies will converge and become one. Apple started off, manufacturing computers, and now they do software, and they're going into e-commerce and retail, right? Amazon started off selling books online. Now they have Fire TV, Amazon Web Services. It's a technology company. I don't think anyone can argue with that. Google started off with search. Now they are doing e-commerce. Google Shopping Express. Why are they doing that? I think, by the way, Google will go big time into e-commerce. Why are they going to do that? Is because the everything store, Amazon, right? Now, Google is making a lot of money off of AdWords, people searching for products. What about when people just search for products within Amazon? Then it's a lot of money lost for them. So I think that they're going into shopping so that they can also maintain that AdWords revenue. And you have Alibaba doing something similar with Alipay. This is another interesting trend. I'm stealing this from Mary Meeker in her famous Internet Trends presentation. Content, community, and commerce converge, right? Content, this is like Pinterest, social shopping, all these things, curation. It provides that layer on top of the e-commerce where people can, you do it socially, price comparison, content, more information about the products. Community, you can shop with your friends, you get the trust and social proof of your own network. And then why not add that you can actually buy the products right there as well? It's an unbeatable, what she calls trifecta. One example of this is WeChat from Tencent, right? they not only have, communication services, but you can actually have a virtual assistant where you can put your grocery shopping list on there and check out from within WeChat, and they will deliver your grocery products. It's a communication service, but they also allow this type of stuff. These are when all three converge. Okay, so since we're going to have e-commerce companies converging with technology companies, right? The companies, they would just be technology companies. And the best tech obviously will win. So you see Kiva Systems there. This is automatic warehouse robotics, warehouse automation robotics. They were bought by Amazon for $750 million. Dematic's doing similar warehouse automation. I think a lot of more robotics will go into warehouse fulfillment. Fulfillment is not a commodity, and these companies will disrupt the fulfillment. Then you have companies like DoorDash and Uber. DoorDash just got something like 17 million from Sequoia. They're providing software that allows, the most efficient delivery routing and optimization between their delivery fleet to deliver from restaurants to customers. I think that the people with the best software platforms like this and can do delivery most efficiently will win. Now let's talk about how this all comes together. The idea that I mentioned about a controlled ecosystem. Everyone knows that Steve Jobs at Apple was a control freak, right? He wanted to control all of the ecosystem. Amazon similarly wants to control all of the supply chain, but it goes beyond that. It's when you can offer many different products and services and have them all seamlessly integrated and just work, it's even more powerful. So the sum of all these services and products is much greater. The whole is much greater than the sum of the parts, right? If it can work all together, it's much more powerful. And you see all of these companies creating these ecosystems, or a platform with many different products and services. We talked about this before, that I think retailers will become manufacturers. They are becoming manufacturers. There's no more difference anymore. Interesting to find out what will happen to the manufacturers. Like if there's no more space to sell your stuff, and the retailers are getting all the data about consumer purchasing behavior and making better products, the manufacturers must have to do something. Otherwise, they'll be in trouble. Convenience and instant gratification are key. Amazon's working on drones to deliver your products. Perhaps one day we'll all have 3D printers and we'll have a feed of the periodic table of elements, and we just feed it in and it can make anything for us instantly. You print your own stuff, right? So that's crazy prediction, but hey, it could happen. But for now, we companies that work on convenience, we all have less and less free time, right? Everyone's getting busier and they value their free time more. So the people who provide that instant gratification and convenience will win. Traditional brick and mortar must innovate or die. Apple's new retail store in Turkey, they're doing retail very differently than everyone else, and it's working for them. The people who didn't, not working so well. They have to provide unique experiences, something that they can use their physical presence to their advantage. So possible implications of all this. The instant gratification, instant delivery marketplaces, what will happen to them? I just mentioned why e-commerce has so much advantages over these brick and mortar stores. And as these stores become extinct, like Borders and Barnes & Noble, it only accelerates the process, because when they go bankrupt, it just leaves a lot of market share open for the e-commerce companies. So if they take over these brick and mortar companies, where are these instant gratification marketplaces going to pick and pack their stuff from? There won't be any brick and mortar companies to collaborate with. I'm not sure of that, but that could happen. Opportunity to disrupt retail. right? We're seeing that you have to innovate or die. The people who innovate will win, and there's a lot of opportunity to disrupt retail. So this is a picture of a unique little pop-up store in Japan, where they're going to the people, doing something pretty creative there. What will happen to commercial real estate? This is a picture of Ion in Orchard. Will it be a rock climbing place where they have water slides in there? What are people going to do in these places, and what will happen to the real estate owners if this plays out like I'm saying? What will people do with their time? You have empty malls, especially here in Singapore, where shopping is like the national pastime. You're going to have to find other activities, right? Physical activities, social activities. You're going to have to fill up the time with other more interesting, hopefully, stuff than just shopping in these physical stores. So I'm not sure if any of these predictions are right or not. But what I am sure of is there's going to be a ton of opportunity to disrupt retail and also within e-commerce. So I'm asking all the budding entrepreneurs here in the audience to be creative, come up with new business models, things that I haven't mentioned, continue disrupting this industry. It's a very nascent industry, and bring e-commerce into the future. Thank you.